Hey everybody, I'm Matt Putra, CEO of 8X. We are a firm of fractional CFOs and finance professionals, and I'm your host of Conquering Complexity, Breaking Barriers to Sustainable Growth. Today, I'm joined by Joe Sabel. He is a seasoned leader in the eye care industry and the owner of Western Optical Supply. Joe brings a wealth of experience from his executive roles in private equity-backed ventures, where he led multiple acquisitions and integrations, showcasing his knack for operational excellence and strategic growth. Now, as the proud owner of Western Optical Supply, Joe is steering the business with innovative strategies and a strong focus on scaling sustainably in a competitive market. He is a passionate advocate for continuous learning. Joe's leadership is a testament to vision, resilience, and adaptability. Thanks for joining us.
Matt, thanks so much. I'm super excited about this.
Me too. So I read, of course, that you've done acquisitions and integrations. Those are so hard. And this is way off our script of questions, but I want to ask a bit about that. Like,
Sure.
integrations are really hard. How did you make them work when you did them?
Well, I'll be honest. They didn't work flawlessly. I wish I could say that it was just a perfect scenario, and off we went. No, there was a lot of learnings, some trial and error, and some mistakes, frankly. That just it's key to learn from the mistakes and grow from it. Yeah, we during my time at the first private equity owned company in the eye care space, we were doing capital equipment, and we acquired a number of distributors under us, and my job was to integrate them into our culture, our systems, our process, our sales teams, etc. And yeah, I mean, you take a small three-person company joining hundreds of people into our company and so forth.
Yeah.
It's a whole different shift. And the biggest thing I learned through that process though is just the mindset shift and making sure that people are comfortable in that. There's just a lot of apprehension, which is completely understandable. You go from, again, a small mom and pop company like where I'm at right now and what I own
Yeah.
to now being into, huge revenue dollar companies with certain expectations, of course, from a culture standpoint. And,
Mhm.
just having an HR department, stuff like that was, a big learning. And it was one of the biggest things I learned from it is just being patient and making sure you're really, I know you hear the cliche, holding hands
Yeah.
of the people, walking them through the process, and that couldn't be more true.
Mm.
Just being slow, making them, just ease into things, ease into the new systems, ease into the new uh, HR stuff, ease into the new CRMs, ERPs, and so forth,
Mm.
and just really, really give them the training and the patience more along with that training is
Right.
absolutely key. So,
And how long would you say you were in the holding hands and training and patience period? I mean, everyone's patience has a point, but like when you guys, and maybe we should do a whole separate one on this, but anyway, different topic. But like, how long would you say that you would be patient for?
yeah, so I started my first couple. I was not as patient, I can tell you that, and it was probably a 3 to kind of 6 month process
Mhm.
was not enough time. So coming
Okay.
further down the road, some of the later acquisitions of my time, it was definitely more a year to 18 months. And I would push more towards an 18-month time frame to really, really successfully integrate them in. And yeah, it just cannot be rushed, assuming it's a asset that's going into to the company that you want to build from and grow the brand and so forth. So, some of the other acquisitions have been, it was just get them in and kind of eliminate the brand and just upload. We want their customer base, and that's it,
Right.
and off you go.
Right.
But generally, the ones I was more involved with than not were the ones with that they wanted the people, wanted to make sure that they were known that they were a needed component and asset to the business as
I
well.
see. Cool. Well, thank you for letting me go a bit off topic here.
Great.
That's super interesting. Okay, so you were in private equity, and you were presumably things were going fairly well, and now you own Western Optical, which is a bit smaller than what you've done before. How did you end up there, and what was the bit of that journey?
Sure. Yeah, it was almost 2 years ago to the day now, where I helped the first company get sold from one group to the next, and during that next few months process, there was just some turnover of the executive teams. What is fairly normal during a private equity acquisition, especially going from a smaller one to a larger group. The larger group will bring in their own leadership teams and want to go in and do their thing with the asset. And so, unfortunately, at that point, I was one of the casualties. So, yeah, it went. It despite being the only divisional leader hitting budget consistently, it was
Oh man.
it, I get it. It's business, and they have their people, and it's kind of like a sports team. You had a new coach or a new, with a NFL turnover right now, you got new coaches coming in, and they want their guys, and
Right.
they're so forth. So it's no different. It's business, and of course, I wish I could say I handled that perfectly at the time of the layoff. It was a lot of what was me for a little bit, not real long. I didn't last too long with that, but it was
Well,
more.
I mean, I can imagine that if you're, like you said, you were one of the only divisional leaders hitting their budget. Like, why would they? Why would they? I can kind of understand how that would feel. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I am one of the philosophies I live by is life happens for you, not to you. And so, pick yourself up, get your boots on, and go figure out what's going on. And so for me, it was I started doing some consulting, and really had a nice little client base doing that. As I was looking for my next venture, I knew I wanted to get into ownership, direct ownership, and I started looking at outside the eye care space, multiple things. My wife and I were looking into that we're close to closing on, but just not quite find the right fit. But we heard about Western Optical Supply, where it was a 50-plus-year-old company and owned by and started by its founder, Joshua Freilich, who's a close, dear friend of mine right now to this day, and he had offers, with strategic buys and private equity, but really kind of didn't want what I was describing earlier. Didn't want his brand and what he's built for 50 plus years just to go fall by the wayside and get absorbed. And so, yeah, we stumbled upon each other through another connection in the industry. And a few months later, we closed, and that was the beginning of 2024. Western was based in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I spent the first few weeks of the year down there last year, and then moved the company up to where we're from, Green Bay, Wisconsin, and here we are.
Did he become your friend through this process?
He did, yeah. I did. I knew of the company. I didn't know him personally, but yeah, he's just a tremendous individual, and just a heart of a teacher, heart of gold, and I love him. He's a great guy.
There must be something special about you, because I don't think it's that common for people to become friends through the M&A process and to remain friends after it's been going on. How long have you owned Western Optical?
Just over a year now. Yeah, we just had our 1 year anniversary at the beginning of the year, this year.
Well, I'm not wrong, am I? Like,
No, you're not. It is very rare, and seeing what I dealt with on some of
yeah.
the acquisitions I had, unfortunately, in a couple of cases, the companies I spearheaded to acquire into our company, they did get absorbed, and I wasn't told about that. So the owner of the old company I was like, what is going on? This is not what you said.
Right.
And I was, it was, from my reputational standpoint and my just ethics, it was a wasn't something I was real proud of. And I felt pretty bad about some of those things. So to answer your question, yeah, that is more of a common thing than not. And it is pretty special that we're still tight. I talk to Joshua probably almost every day still.
Amazing.
A lot of it, frankly, I'm still learning. I'm asking him questions. Hey, what's this and what's that mean? But and then he's now that he's retired, he's doing a lot of creations, and so we get first right of refusal of some of his new inventions, which we're really excited about. Yeah, we have a new one coming out here. We're just going through the patent process, very close to launching. And,
No way.
and so yeah, so he's having fun on his I'll call it retirement, although I don't think he's sitting on his hands a whole lot right now.
Interesting. Super cool. Um, well, that kind of layers into my first question, which is about like, I guess it's been a year. So in that year, how has your sort of financial management of your business evolved?
We could talk about this for a long time, Matt. Yeah, I came in and I did I'm very I love looking at financials, P&Ls, and balance sheets and so forth. But much on a lot, grander scale. But then to have it as this is my own company, this is my own assets, my own cash and so forth. It was very eye opening. So we started with just learning the system by itself was a thing, and the process, which is QuickBooks. We were using QuickBooks. We still do, and so just it was kind of like starting from scratch. What do I do with sales tax? What do I do with taxes for my payroll? What do I do? You know, because all that was done with my HR departments from larger companies, of course, and now it's up to me. So I went to square one, and I wish I could say it went flawlessly. I would say the first half of the year, especially when I got up to Green Bay, there was a lot of mistakes, and my accountant was like, "Dude, come on, you got to get this fixed up. We can't let this stuff go." So now, fast forward 6 months, my accountant just literally last week, I had my year end financials all done. I had everything buttoned up to a T.
Last week.
And that is basically what they said too. They were like, "Wait, what? You've got everything reconcile everything?" I said, "It's clean. I'm not letting this stuff pile up. I'm not going to have the same mistakes I did the first part of the year. I can't let myself do that. We're a small business, and to have any sort of potential tax bills that we're not ready for or something, I don't want to deal with." So that's one thing. Yeah,
just real quick for the listener, this is being recorded on January 14th, 2025. So for Joe to say his books were submitted to his accountant tidy up last week, that's like January 7th, which is 7 days after year end. So that's pretty fantastic.
I had everything on basically was January 2nd. That was basically over at the same point. It was like, I just didn't want it to pile up. I wanted to get right into 2025. And part of the thing I would tell your listeners too is stay on top of it. Just you've gotta don't let it pile up. I am on basically a daily to a almost weekly at worst, making sure I'm looking at my reports and making sure everything's checking out. Because then that was the thing. The first 6 months of the year, I didn't do that. Part of it was the move, part of it was learning. Everything was piled on top. No excuses, though. It comes down to it. The IRS, anybody else, they don't care. The banks don't care.
Right.
You just got to do it. And so you got to figure it out. And that's what I did. So that's the biggest thing I would say I learned from this is don't let things pile up, and stay in front of it and stay on top of it. And it'll be fun.
Do you have a bookkeeper that helps you, or are you doing?
I did for a bit. The first, through my accounting agency, I use a third party. They had a bookkeeper that was helping me, and that's where I was finding all the mistakes I was making. But since basically the beginning of, I want to say September of last year, no bookkeeper needed. I've got everything, running like a tight, pretty solid ship. My wife does a phenomenal job too with order processing and everything. She's on top of things too. So we got things rolling pretty good right now, knock on wood.
Amazing. Well, this sort of, the next question is really about like financial processes and systems. And one of the challenges as people grow, and I would imagine even more so in an acquisition, is that you kind of either walk into fragmented systems or your systems fragment as you grow. So like you add staff and then the system you had doesn't work. So you got to get a new system. So then that doesn't integrate well with that one. And then now need invoicing and ERP and MRP. So like what's been your approach to harmonizing your current systems from when you took over to now?
It's a great question. And I'm kind of right in the middle of it right now. We have some major growth goals for this year. So one of those things that's just needed, we need to update some systems. And so we're looking at a couple things, is it QuickBooks Online? Is there a separate inventory management software? What is it that we need? And then obviously what's the budget that we need on top of that to make it all happen? But it really comes down to, for us is, eliminating the manpower need to just be manually implementing things. So we're looking at some systems now to automate a lot more of what we do on a day-to-day basis. So I would say that's it's one of the bigger keys. I think what it comes down to, what I would suggest that I'm learning right now, and a lot of coaches have told me, that a lot of people and mentors that I talk to, is what is your best thing at? What's your biggest strength? And for me, it's sales. It's being in front of customers. I can't be in front of customers if I constantly doing invoicing and going through and reconciling and stuff like this. So what is it, another staff or is it automation? And right now we're feeling it's more automation at this point, just to update the systems that where we have right now. And then we can move into, freeing up my time to get into to more and more customers. So I'm using some strategies. Maybe you've heard of it, from the 12-week year, EOS, some of those strategies
Oh, yeah.
to time block off my time to make sure I'm spending X number of hours a day in sales activities. And I've got a cold caller working for me. It's helping me out a lot too. So it really, I would say, as I'm journeying through this process right now, and again, maybe you asked me in 6 months, I would say something totally different, but it's really, what are you best at? What are your strengths? Really self-examine yourself, be self-aware. What is your best suit? Maybe it is books. I don't know. And then you need to get a salesperson out or a marketer and so forth. For me, it's not books. For me, it's talking to customers, and it's being out there and so forth.
So one thing you said, I want to go back and then I want to continue on forward. One thing you mentioned is that we have some really aggressive growth goals this year, so we need to look at our systems. I don't know that everybody thinks that way. What made you think that way about your company?
A lot of it was just came down to examining what I'm doing on a daily basis. What is my time right now? So, and looking at the Q4 of last year and prior quarters since taking over the ownership, what am I doing? What is really doing a self-examination of where am I spending my time? And so it goes to kind of, again, to what I was describing earlier. What are your strengths at? I found myself spending so much time either just doing books, invoicing, processing orders. I just was never talking to customers, and I just get into this rut of that, and I'd be too tired to even want to talk to customers in some of those points. So that's what it really came down to, is just examining what I was spending time. So I would say to your listeners out there is just go back in your calendar and look at your last 2 weeks and what you'd been doing. And if your calendar's not filled up, fill up your calendar on what you're actually doing. So audit your time, and just bring a notebook with you and just write down, okay, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., I processed orders. From 11 a.m.,
I'm actually doing that right now. I have a time log I'm keeping it's been 1 week and I'm keeping it for another couple of weeks. And then I got to go back through and figure out what I like and don't like and what makes me money and what doesn't. And then we'll go on from there. How did you do it for yourself with a calendar?
Yeah.
You said?
Just in my calendar, looking at just my Google Calendar and everything I was either doing or not doing. And that's where I came down to that, creating the 12-week year. So my first quarter is, spending more time into the sales. That's ultimately what it's going to come down to. And then, so now on time blocking in my calendar at 1 p.m. today, sales calls. That's what I'm doing, and so forth. So I got to make sure I'm just consistently talking to people and getting our name out there. We're a small company. We got a lot of opportunity. But for us, if we want to hit the goals, I've got to be out there talking to people. And to do that, I've got to start automating some things.
What's what's your approach to recrafting your calendar to spend time on sales calls when there's other stuff that has to get done, and when presumably you have some limited budgets like we all do, like how do you then carve back that time? There's shit that has to get done, but it's not your core competency. How do you figure that part out? How do you actually this is something I'm working on too.
Sure. So it comes down to, we all, our time is limited, right? We all have the same amount of time per day and so forth to do what we want. So for me, my biggest challenge out there is distraction. So it's the phone, it's a text. I am the type of individual who I get an email or I get a text, I got to respond immediately.
Yeah.
So ultimately for me, and this is a work in progress. I can't emphasize that enough right now. It is during that time block, it's eliminating the distractions. So from a big picture standpoint, to answer your question, it's about discipline. And it's not nobody else is watching over you to make sure it's your self-discipline to make sure that, okay, I got that time block of sales calls at 1 o'clock today. The distractions are off. I'm not answering emails. I'm not answering texts. I'm making sales calls. And that's what it is. And so the first part of this year has been very successful with that. I'll tell you, it's tough. My habits are, again, I hear that little buzz on my phone and boom, I want to check it, or
Totally.
just having the phone by you. I don't know if you've seen some of or read some of those books. Is having the book, the phone by you is a distraction in and of itself. Just because it creates this. Oh my gosh, I think I should check that. I got to check on what's happening on Instagram or so forth, all that stuff. So,
I read somewhere that having your phone, like in a meeting, having your phone on the table, like can actually lower your take your IQ points off your score, basically, which is like insane. And I'm a culprit. My phone is, well, actually, it's recording right now too, but so I can't touch it. But and it would otherwise be right on my desk. That's where I have it all day. So maybe I should hide it or something. Interesting. So, when you think about directions and picking a direction or picking a channel or making decisions in your business, and how do you approach that? Like, do you have data that you look at and kind of walk me through, how do you pick one way or another?
yeah, so my personal philosophy, and this is me, so I'm not here to say I'm right and you're wrong or whoever's wrong. I am I'm not a big fan of debt, and I have a working capital loan, all this stuff. I haven't touched it yet. I don't want to touch it. So um in certain cases where we've needed to get our inventory up, and I'll be honest, it's happened lately where I've had to significantly allocate a lot of cash, a lot more than I wanted to, and I felt comfortable to. But I did not want to tap into any sort of debt to alleviate that, meaning pay myself or pay my staff or so forth. I wanted to make sure if I was going to do that, I'll sacrifice myself and my salary before I'm sacrificing for someone else, or to not get that inventory in. So that's
Where, just real quick, where does your desire to avoid debt come from?
I am it's I'll tell you, it's always kind of been there for me. I never liked it, but then I started getting, and everybody knows Dave Ramsey. I started following his philosophy and personal standpoint. So after I, cleared my own personal debt back in the day, and home mortgages and all that, I liked the feeling of just not having it. It was free.
Cool.
In all fairness, I had to acquire the company on my own, which I did. I did incur an SBA loan. So it's out there. I have that feeling again that I had back in the day, but I do see the benefits in that case that there was no way I was going to be able to acquire this company.
So
And
you've experienced having debt in your home and presumably credit cards and stuff, and then you got out of it, and being out of it was like, this feels awesome. So now you just don't want it anymore. Because I think like the majority of people I talk to, I mean, I'm almost 40. A lot of people I talk to are in and around there, and I don't, most of us haven't experienced being out of debt before, probably. Because like you buy a home, I'm still paying it off and, things like that. So it's like, I don't even really know what it feels like to be out of debt. How
it
does it
feels
feel like?
good. Let me tell you. Yeah, it feels good. No, no, trust me, it feels good. It's like a weight off your shoulders. I would just describe that as. But so now I've got a monster weight on my shoulders again with
Yeah.
the to get the business, which we carefully examined my wife and I and felt okay, this it's still worth it. We can the company is very healthy. We can grow it and really attack that and get it done sooner than later. So again, I'm not trying to point a finger at anybody that's and so forth. That's just my personal feelings and so forth and kind of some of my philosophies on it. But what I can to kind of get circle back to your original question was as far as incurring any additional debt, I will try to the T to avoid. And if it takes in a case where I'm sacrificing some income for myself, I will do that. Just because, uh, I want to make sure I can be able to sustain the business, making sure we have proper inventory and to satisfy our customers and our customers' needs in a very, very timely manner with no back orders or limited back order issues and so forth. And so in some cases, as it's happened here in the last month, it's been a bit of a challenge on a cash flow issue. But knock on wood, so far I've been able to avoid using that equity working capital uh, loan so far. So I'm hoping to keep that going. And again, I'd sacrifice it for myself if anything to avoid that.
Hmm. Amazing. And so on the data piece and decision making, there's more than ever before. There's more data, there's more everything. How do you distill whatever's available to you and then use it to decide on what like your strategic initiatives are going to be or channels or geographies or whatever?
Sure. So I would say start at kind of like a high level, start at the 30,000 foot view. So that look at what's your vision for the company. Start with that. Start with overall what is your vision. Then you can build your plan and your goals from there. So we have a very strong vision. We are both my wife and I are strong believers. We're a Christian-based company. Uh, and so for us, we want to be able to give back to the community, specifically for a group I'm associated with called Rise Up Kings, where it really is it's for men to grow and develop. So we want to be able to send men down to
Right.
Rise Up Kings experience. Something I've been through, my sons have been through. It's changed our lives. So we want to give back and do that. So that's our
Yeah.
top line vision. From there, then break it down into the goals per. And in this case, my personal one that I really like is the 12-week year. So that creates for me, a much higher sense of urgency than just having annual goals and then working back. So for me, the 12-week year, I've got the first quarter. I'm acting that as my year, so to speak,
Cool.
and I have a much higher sense of urgency towards that, hitting that. And I'm hoping a much higher likelihood to hit those goals, which will then turn to my annual goals and help me
Mm.
accomplish our vision.
Mm.
But one thing I would say is for your listeners is you've got to have very measurable uh, or checking all the time the numbers. So um, I'm constantly looking at reports as far as my financials go, as far as my sales numbers go, especially sales. So if I'm off today, and I look at it on a daily basis. If I'm off today, okay, I got to make it up tomorrow now. And here's how I'm going to do it. So if I only made, and then I break it down into my leg measures of how many calls I'm making per day. And if I'm off of that, it's got to go to that, that's got to increase at that much more for the next day and so forth. So but what'll happen, and I'm just, again, this is my thing. I think this is pretty common is, okay, we're halfway through the month already. As you mentioned, it's January 14th. We're halfway through the month. I'm guessing a lot of people's New Year's resolutions are already gone by the wayside. I think stats are by the second Friday, Quitter's Day, as they call it. That was 80% are done. I think business is no different for your goals. You maybe had a rough start to the year. You're not hitting those targets. You got to just keep plugging in, and you got to look at it. You can't neglect it. Once you neglect it, or once you put it by the wayside, or just hope that it's going to go away, it's not. You're on your business. You've got to hold yourself accountable, or get it and get with some other guys too, and hold. So I'm with the Rise Up Kings is a bunch of business owners, successful business owners, and I've told them, okay, these are the metrics I want to hit on a daily and weekly basis. So I got those guys texting me, hey, did you hit you hit your goals, you hit your sales calls per day today, and so forth. So, get some good accountability partners and good mentors that can to help that. But to really answer your question, it really comes down to is looking at the numbers regularly. Okay. Again, I'm doing it daily. Maybe it's not daily for you. Maybe it's weekly, maybe, whatever. But I would say you got to look at it and you got to stay on top of it. And if you're missing something, why are you missing it? Is it a time thing? Is it distractions similar to what we were talking about earlier? And change some things up, tweak it. One thing though, don't get down on yourself. So we're halfway through the month. Give yourself some. I'm sure you had some wins. Okay, if you from a fitness standpoint, okay, right. A lot of the New Year's resolutions are probably gone by the wayside. I would encourage people to say, what did you do? Okay, so you missed a few things over here.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't hit your exact New Year's resolution. Fine. You did this though, which is something much more than what you did back in December and the prior months and so forth. So look at those wins and build off of it. And don't let, because it's January 14th now and it's not January 1, be the detriment to be able to start it back up. Same thing with sales.
So you're sort of starting with what is the overall thing that I want to do, and then working to more and more granular, and not letting the granular kind of obscure where you're going. So you're always kind of have a North Star or a direction in mind. Interesting. Yeah. So I like, you keep mentioning the 12-week year. I haven't heard of that specifically before. Can you give us a quick a primer on what that is?
Yeah. So, I think it's Brian Moran. Moran is the author. I know that's the last name. It might not be Brian, but it's just a philosophy. And it was a book I just read in Q4 of last year, 2024. And the thing I mentioned it a little bit earlier is it had, just for me, it created a much higher sense of urgency. I find myself, as the year goes on, I got time to make this up. I missed this month, no biggie. I got time to make it up because it's only June. The thing what I liked about 12-week year it shifted my mindset to, man, okay, at the end of March, I need to be at X revenue and so forth. Because that's going to ultimately help me hit my vision, which, as I mentioned earlier, is we want to have an impact in men's lives and changing their lives and helping them out. And I need to do that by March. Then I break it down into each week. I've got metrics and sales calls and sales numbers, and so forth, that each week I need to hit this stuff. So just for me, it works in my mindset, because it creates a much higher sense of urgency. My personality type I operate under that. If I'm under more extreme stress, I perform better. And so the 12-week year breaks that year down a little bit quicker.
So it's similar to EOS I suppose, and that like EOS is like 90-day world,
Yeah.
so it's like
Yep.
every 3 months is a quarter, and you have goals in the quarter, and they stack up to the year, and
Yeah.
they stack up to the. Okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
It's very, very similar. US is great. I read Traction. Yeah, it's great too. I'm incorporating some of that too, but I just like the 12-week year just because it was a bit more pragmatic for me.
Awesome. I'll check that out. Yeah, because I like to pull things from like I have a bunch of stuff we use from EOS, but I've pulled in things from scaling up and other places as well. Also Play to Win is one I like, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, really cool. Okay, so one more question. We're gonna take a quick break. A genie appears and grants you one wish that you can use on the financial side of your business. What do you wish for?
Ooh. Wow. Can I get more wishes? The standard. No.
It's a good one. No, you can't. No, no, no.
I would say just a little. I would say I want to improve systems, and just by the snap of my finger, all my systems are fully automated and fully implemented,
Cool.
and everything's operating seamlessly. That it frees up, so much more time for me and my staff to be able to focus on marketing and sales.
So, Joe, what happened in your life that most explains where you are now?
Ooh. So I could talk for a couple hours on this, but I don't want to bore everybody to death here. So I'll sum it up into a few things. What I brought up earlier about Rise Up Kings and that group and the impact it had in my life. I wish I would have known about some of that stuff earlier. So real high level thing. It is a group of men that's philosophies are based on four pillars: faith, family, fitness, and finance, and in that order. And what I've found is throughout most of my life and my marriage, I didn't have a whole lot of things other than I was focused on myself and what makes me feel the best on a daily basis, and
Mm,
kind of life revolves around me. And once I started, and then I started drinking pretty heavily as well. So a couple of those things that compiled up, I was a very immature man child, made all, and yeah, and just on top of everything, started drinking a lot and really felt entitled on a number of things and so forth. So, just to kind of sum it up, I got sober September of 23. Yeah,
wow.
completely.
Amazing.
So yeah, excuse me, September 22. So 2 years and 3 months now, or 4 months, whatever it is. Haven't been completely sober, which is great. I'm so feel better than ever. And I found Rise of Kings right after that, which is perfect. It really started to give me uh, purpose for my family, for myself, my faith, my wife, and really where to prioritize what I'm doing on a daily basis. And I mentioned earlier about looking at metrics and so forth. So just from a personal standpoint, I look at am I hitting certain metrics each day, whether it's my fitness, whether it's
No way. Cool.
my faith time, it's spending time with my family. All these things I look at on a daily basis. Believe it or not, I've got a little app through the Rise Up Kings group that helps you keep that in check. So again, for me, it is that I mentioned her, my personality is I got kind of see things. I got to have a scoreboard, and
Mm,
that's helping me drive to a much much larger goal, which is again to be the best. Um, and from a personal standpoint, best father, best shape of my life, best husband I can possibly be, and so forth, and having an impact in the world as well, in a positive way, and so forth. So,
nice.
um, yeah, so it really came, to kind of sum it up. I'm actually writing a book. I'm calling "Man the Heck Up" because it's all about my mistakes and from even as a child where I just, man, I look back and I see, man, that did definitely derail me. And instead of handling it properly. I did this. So,
Mm.
if I can help another person stop that, that and not make that same mistake that I have, man, if just one person, man, then I've done something that means something. So,
Beautiful.
um, so yeah, that kind of sums it up.
Very cool. What do you like? Well, actually, sorry. Before I stop, should we shout out Rise Up Kings real quick? You mentioned it a handful of times. Like, where are they? What do they do? What states are they in?
Sure.
Yeah, tell us a bit
Yeah,
more.
they're actually international now.
Oh,
And well, I'll say more North American based. They've gotten into Canada, I've gotten into Mexico, but they're based out of Dallas, Texas. Started by a guy called Skylar Lewis. He started about 5 years ago now. And he was a business owner and just had a heart for men and he felt that there was a lot of things lacking for men out there we're just really men are kind of generally speaking. I was one of just kind of floating through life and not being the leaders that we can be and not being the husbands that we can be and we should be and fathers and so forth. So he started it, and it's grown substantially. It's probably the largest faith-based personal development organization out there that I could think of. They're based in, as I said, Dallas, Texas. There's a 3-day experience to start with, and then there's a whole other levels and so forth. But you can stay active, and it's for me, it's great for mentoring, networking, and just connecting with guys, business owners. They're all business owners, and
hmm.
a lot of really good resources to really help you be successful, not only in your personal life but in financially as well.
Wow, amazing. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so would you what industry you're obviously in, optical and eyesight and stuff, but like do you sell who do you sell to?
Yeah, we generally, I'll say, a majority of our business is business to business, so to directly to the eye care professionals. So,
Oh,
and
okay.
and that could be optometrists or ophthalmologists, but basically anybody with an optical department. So they're selling glasses and dispensing eyewear.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's one. Yeah,
Right.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And then there's the wholesale laboratories that actually make the lenses themselves, and they put the lenses in the frames.
Hmm.
They'll also use our tools to do that. They're very specialty tools, high craftsmanship, very detailed. It's one of the things with glasses. It's not a simple process to make these things,
Right,
and a
man.
lot goes involved with. From the individual, the patient, or the patient's prescriptions to the frame that they choose to the lens materials. There's so many things that go involved. So our tools help. Our mindset or our mantra, excuse me, is we make opticians' lives easier. An optician is the one who's actually dispensing the eyewear to that patient. So if, for example, Matt, you wear glasses, if your glasses are ever out of adjustment or you need something tweaked, they're using our tools to make those that more comfortable for you.
Cool. Cool.
So
And what do you like the most about your industry, and what do you hate the most?
I love I've been in it since '08. It's interesting with various capacities as we described it. I never saw myself getting into this industry. It just kind of fell into place, but man, I love it ever since. The biggest thing I'd say I love is just having an impact on ultimately on patients' lives. The visual, the eyesight is our most important sense, and it just to be able to have a small impact to helping somebody see better. I love that.
Mm. Mm.
And For example, I just this morning got a call from a local office here who's I'm also getting into some dry eye stuff as well. And they wanted to rave about this unit. It was and the impact it was having on their patients. Man, that means everything. I take the selling of it and all that aside. That's not what's about for me. It's about
That's
what am I
beautiful.
doing with people's lives?
Yeah.
I'm indirectly helping whoever. I had no idea. I'll never meet these people probably. I'm having a small impact to make their lives better for their
Mm.
eyesight, and I like that stuff. So that's the biggest thing I like. The biggest thing I don't like, believe it or not, eye care is like it's kind of like middle school. It's this small industry, even though it's a big industry.
Yeah, yeah.
everybody knows what everyone else is doing, and
Really?
you know, people are jumping from one company to the next and back
Okay.
and forth, and it's just it is kind of wild. And there's a lot. It like I said, it's kind of like middle school with cliques and so forth. So
I see.
yeah, I've said this to a few people that agree with me, and I said, you know, we could actually do something, and probably make a lot more money doing this. Is having some cameras follow around us on a daily basis, and having like this reality show of the eye care industry and who's selling to who and who's going what to what company and back, and so
People have done crazier things than that. And people are even doing that now, like, and they just have their own like YouTube channel and stuff. Yeah, that'd be really
it's
interesting.
true. Yeah.
Do you guys work with contacts and contact lenses at all?
I don't. I know, you know, a lot of the companies that do, but we don't get into contacts.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, well, our last question is, who do you look up to? Or if you have a hero, who is that?
Whew. I would say right now, who I look up to probably be Skylar Lewis, the guy who started Rise of Kings to start with. But from an industry standpoint, I've had a number of great mentors who are just guys that, man, yeah, just mean the world to me and have done so much for me and my family too. So Joe Cherry, who started Cherry Optical here in Green Bay. I stumbled upon knowing him my first day, literally on the job back in '08, knowing nothing about eye care. He took me under his wing and just helped me grow and develop, opened up some doors. I still talk to him to this day, even though he's retired down in Florida and on almost regular basis. He's just an awesome guy too. So, yeah.
Amazing. Cool. Well, I do want to ask, how do people get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with
Oh, yeah. So go to westernoptical.com. That's our website. Follow me on LinkedIn. Very pretty active on LinkedIn.
you? Awesome.
We do have some other social media. Western Optical has some other social media things, but to keep my distractions down, I'm not on personally on any of those other social media sites, but Western is. So yeah, westernoptical.com. Joe Sabel on LinkedIn. I greatly appreciate connections there. And then Joe at westernoptical.com is my email.
Great. Well, Joe, thank you so much for offering to be a guest on our podcast, Conquering Complexity. For listeners, be sure to subscribe on our podcast, all the major platforms, also on YouTube. And the big reminder what I always say is growth isn't just about scaling revenues; it's about keeping things simple. Keep conquering complexity, keep breaking through barriers, and then one step at a time, you can get to a sustainable success.
Love that, man.
Thanks, Joe.